Hello everyone, welcome to my video about the basics of PHP. I wanted to create a little video that would explain the basics of PHP, PHP variables, PHP syntax, what is a PHP file exactly, for example, and how is it executed, what is exactly in a PHP file, what could be in a PHP file, etc. So that if you guys follow my what is a browser game tutorial, you get a little bit more information about this topic. So before you continue, it's important that you have a little bit of understanding about HTML, CSS, because PHP is a server-side language and is supported by client-side language like HTML, CSS, which means that HTML and CSS is mostly what the user sees when accessing your website, and PHP is used to do things on the server side. For example, get values from a database, make calculations, etc. So, what is PHP? PHP is an acronym for Hypertext Preprocessor. It's a very widely used open source scripting language. I would dare to say that almost every website uses PHP somewhere. PHP scripts are executed on the server, and which means that a user doesn't get to influence those PHP files directly, like you can with HTML. For example, if you access a website, you can change the source, but then only the HTML and the CSS, but not the actual PHP file, which might have contributed to generating a certain part of the page. So, what is a PHP file? PHP files can contain text, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and PHP code, of course. PHP code is executed on the server, and the result is returned to the browser as plain HTML or plain text. Yeah. So PHP files have the extension .php. What can PHP do? PHP can generate dynamic page content, can create open, read, write, delete, and close files on the server, can collect form data. For example, if you have an HTML form, you can post data from that form to a PHP script and then store it in a database or retrieve it from the database. You can work with cookies and sessions. For example, if your user logs in and decides to do something, you can store it in a session in a cookie so that you can pick that information up somewhere else in your scripts. You can use PHP to add, delete, modify data in your database, and you can use PHP to control user access to the website. For example, by making a maintenance script which checks if maintenance is being done on the website and if a user should see this part of the website at this time or not, like we are doing for the browser game. PHP can also be used to encrypt data, for example with very basic old school MD5 or Bluefish encryption. I believe it's called bcrypt. You can use that to secure passwords, etc. So, why would you use PHP? PHP runs on various platforms, Windows, Linux, Unix, Mac, etc. It's a multi-platform language which is completely server dependent. PHP is compatible with almost all servers used today, which is a very great advantage. It's a language that is very accepted in the web community, so to speak. PHP also supports a wide range of databases. Most of the times I use MySQL, but there's a lot of different options that you have. So, aside from all those points, another one that I find really important is that, in my opinion, PHP is as easy to learn and execute as easily as HTML and CSS. And it can run amazingly efficient on a server. With millions of records, you can still do stuff with PHP, which is really nice. So today I wanted to do a little bit of work on variables and syntax, which I'm going to type down, type out, and give you examples right here, and we will check the results on this page using WAMP. So I will start with basic PHP syntax. If you've already watched my how to make a browser game video, you might have already seen a little bit of this, but otherwise I think it's good repetition to remember how it works. So a PHP script can be placed anywhere in the document. For example, if you have HTML here and HTML here, you can place PHP in between that. You can also say I have a PHP script here. I can type around it. I can put text in front of it. I can even close this one, open this one again, and add more text in between. A PHP script always starts with this tag, and I will look up the name of the sign quickly. It's a less than sign, a less than sign, a question mark, and PHP is to open, a question mark and a greater than sign is used to close the PHP script. So test command. This is a very little PHP script which is run whenever this page is requested. So a PHP file normally contains HTML tags and some PHP scripting code so that you can combine stuff. So let's make a little bit of a HTML document. I'm assuming that you already know what these things mean. So just make a little bit of a dummy HTML file and a body, and in the body I will put a little bit of content. But to make it interesting for you guys learning PHP, let's put some PHP or display some PHP text generated using PHP. So let's open PHP using a less than sign, a question mark, sign, and PHP. Then automatically also make the question mark greater than sign to close the PHP script, and display text using an echo, spelled ECHO. Echo is basically a command, a PHP function to display text or a variable, whatever. So, for example, you can display hello world like this. So ECHO is calling the PHP function, the bracket and the other bracket on the other end basically say hello, I'm here. In between these brackets there's text that I need to get displayed to the user. The semicolon is almost always used at the end of a line to end that line, to tell the script, okay, press on enter, so to speak. Just go to the next line, forget about me. So currently we are echoing this text, which is very standard when you are starting to learn a language. In this case, hello world, displaying it in PHP. So if we go to the example page here and we run it, you will see that the header will be displayed in traditional HTML and hello world will be displayed using PHP. So this is your very first PHP script. Another example I can give you is the HTML tag header. So this is basically the same, but now you're running a PHP script in between the header1 tags. This is possible, but don't forget that you will still have to open PHP, close PHP, and consider this to be a single line. Here it's like very procedural, which means that the PHP script is read from the top to the bottom, but here it is a single line, but it's still considered 3 lines in my head, so to speak. So if you run this script, you will see that nothing will change except on the server side where header is generated by the PHP script. So this is very basic way how I can explain PHP syntax to you. Another very important and handy thing to learn is that you can make comments very easily in PHP. You do this by adding 2 slashes and then typing whatever you want the comment to contain. For example, below is my very first echo. Now, most of the times I do this in caps, all caps, capital letters, because I find it easier to find it in a large script. If you have a lot of code, sometimes it's hard to find the comments, and the capitals really stand out. So you can also make a single line comment by adding a hashtag, and below is my very first echo. It's very similar. You can also make a comment block like in HTML by doing this, test. You can also remove this one and it will still be a comment, test, test. My editor is automatically adding the asterisks in front of it. So there's already 3 ways to make comments: // hashtag text / asterisk text, and you can type it out like a block. Like in HTML you can do the following: less than, dash dash, dash dash, greater than, and then you can type text in between. So that's how you do it in HTML. It's very similar to this option. So let's just remove the comments for now and go ahead. So as you can see, echo is currently in small letters. If you change it to capital letters and run the code, it will still work. If you changed only the first letter to a capital letter, it will still work. So PHP functions are not case sensitive. It's a handy thing to know, so don't worry about that. So let's go ahead and try out some PHP variables. A few things I want to talk about is making calculations. Calculations will be below here, and PHP variables will be below here. So declaring a variable. How do you declare a variable? What is a variable is a better question. A variable is an object in which you can store, or a better word is not an object, but a container in which you can store information. For example, you got a long text with 3,000 letters, for example. You can store it in a PHP variable, which is only 5 characters long. It's very handy to do calculations. It's very handy to store information. You will use it a lot. So how do you declare a PHP variable? Let's say we want to store text in a variable. Use a $sign and then text. is or equal to quotation mark, semicolon. What's currently here is the dollar sign. The dollar is basically saying, okay, after me, the name of a new variable is coming. So dollar text means variable text. Text is a variable, and the equal sign says I want to assign the following to this variable. The quotation marks are just a way to contain something. For example, hello YouTube will be put into dollar text, in variable text. Now, if you want to put a number into a variable, for example, variable number 1 underscore is 1, you don't need the quotation marks because it's a number. It works a little bit differently from a string. This is a string. You have to put a string between quotation marks, as to where you don't have to do that with numbers. Number 2 is 4, for example. So these are all PHP variables, which is very cool. You can also work with decimals like this. It will work just fine. So let's do some basic calculations. So if you want to, for example, calculate how much number 1 times number 2 is, you do the following. Asterisk, for which means times, or like multiplying it by number 2. Number 2. This will actually do the calculation for you. What is important to know is that these operators is what we call them. I will make another video about the operators and show you all the operators and all the possibilities that you have. So if you want to know about that, go ahead and try to find that video. So currently you are doing this calculation, but nothing else is happening. You are not displaying it, you are not storing it anyway. So for now, let's just store it into variable calculations. So now it will do the calculation and store it into calculations. To make sure that the calculation happens before storing it, you can do this. Parenthesis left, parenthesis right, and it will be prioritized. It works the same as on your calculator if you have one laying around. So currently we have a very simple calculation. So let's run the script and see what happens. Nothing happens as expected because this is all server side. So if you want to echo the calculation, just simply type echo variable semicolon. So now we say that we want this variable to be displayed to the user. And you see 4.5 is the result, which is true. 1 times 4.5 is 4.5. So let's make this 652.52. Now if you run this calculation, we will get 2702.34. So let's run that calculation manually. Times 4.5. There we go. It's correct. So now another interesting thing we can do is let's just remove this echo for now and try something else. If you want to display this string in front of the calculation, you can do the following: quotation mark, point or dot, and type your text here. Hello YouTube. You will see, oh wait, hello YouTube, comma, the answer is, and then save it, run it, you'll see that, hello YouTube, the answer is blah blah blah. So, but now we did not use the variable above. So how do we put that variable in here? You might think you do it like this, but that's wrong. The way you do it is 2 more quotation marks, or 1 more quotation mark. You add a point in front and attach the text. So now the text variable containing hello YouTube is pasted here, attached to this string, attached to the calculation. So if you save this and run it, hello YouTube, the answer is 2702.34. So that's amazing. That's exactly what we want. So to summarize it a little bit, a variable starts with a $sign followed by the name of the variable. As you can see, a variable name must start with a letter or the underscore character. We've used the underscore here, but we can also use it here. And then put it here like this, and then save the script, try to run it, and it will run fine. So that's also possible. A variable name cannot start with a number, which is very important to know. A variable name can only contain alphanumeric characters, so no crazy stuff. Only A to Z, and only capital and small letters and numbers and underscores. Variable names are case sensitive, which is very important to know. As to where functions are not case sensitive, variables are. So if I make this an n, it will error. It will not work because it's case sensitive. If we make this also capital N's, well, you will see it will work fine. So this is the very basic of PHP. I've explained PHP variables to you, basic PHP syntax. I hope you guys found this video useful. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe for more videos. I will be explaining the operators like the asterisk soon. So thank you for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Bye bye.